As you all know, we love analysing analog horror on this channel. We've analysed the likes of the Mysterious House from the Walton Files, the FNAF VHS tapes, but we have never come across a puppet show. Now, we know Mascot Horror has so many entries like FNAF, Poppy's Playtime, all sorts of stuff, but we've never really had a puppet, emphasis of Mascot Horror, just up until recently, until My Friendly Neighborhood has come out. However, this is an analog horror series that you probably haven't heard of, and it's called White Stag Education. Now, this channel is basically all about a kids TV show, but it's only really started to kick off with its latest episode, Stranger Danger. So in today's video, we're going to be analysing this channel and explaining what is hidden in this puppet show, because it's a lot more than it just meets the eye, which I really like. It is a theorist's dream at the moment. I genuinely don't think they're continuing it though, because there's been nothing ever since this channel for the last 2 months, which is really disappointing for me, because I absolutely love this video and I've analysed it multiple times, and I just wanted to explain to you how much I love this series and how many theories can actually be made from this one video. So without further ado, this is the most disturbing kids TV show you've never seen. So the video first starts off with a normal kids TV show, how it might start on TV, how it has nice little music in the background as Forest Friends pops up with Stranger Danger special, as we get introduced to our first character, a little yellow puppet called Rex. He then introduces us to the camera, kind of similar to how Dora would introduce you. If you know what Dora the Explorer is, how it would basically go, oh, where do we think we should go? And it would give the chance for an audience to reply to the television. That's kind of similar with this TV show. Now, Rex basically explains if we want to go camping with him straight away, completely ignoring the fact that we're a complete stranger to him. However, when he goes to pack his things, another character called Anna walks in the door. However, before Anna walks in the door, Rex gives us a sort of look around of this inside house, and as you can see in the background, you see a nice little poster of the characters we're about to see in this episode hanging on the wall. However, if you look below that, there is a photo of a little girl framed with an angel statue beside it. Bear in mind that angel statue, because that will be important later on in this video. As Anna enters the house, she then realizes that why are we in the house, as in why is the viewer or camera there, because we could be deemed a stranger. Rex then comes back on screen and then introduces Anna to us, saying that we're his new friend. Anna then says, what if we are a stranger? Rex then implies that he doesn't know how to deem what a stranger is, so then it cuts out as we get introduced to Ranger Luke. Now, what this next sentence is very important to me, because it would fly over a lot of kids' heads. However, if you like analog horror or just normal horror like me, this sentence from Ranger Luke it has multiple meanings.
Anna and I have a very important question.
Alrighty, Rex. What is it?
I met someone new today, and they seem really nice and great, but I don't know if they're a stranger or not.
Well, they certainly don't look like a stranger to me.
This sentence from Ranger Luke has multiple meanings, which will fly over a lot of people's heads, but also it will, play into the hands of theories. As Ranger Luke then comes on screen and says hi to the new characters, as Rex said, we made a new friend today, we think he's really great and all this, but we don't know if they're a stranger. As Ranger Luke then looks at the camera and says, they don't look like a stranger to me. Now, this is obviously implying we aren't just a stranger. These so-called strangers are actual beings, as we apparently don't specifically look like a stranger. In a kids TV show form, this would obviously just be the kids saying, oh, this is really friendly, we're all friends, all that sort of thing. But in a horror perspective, this clearly emphasizes that the strangers are an actual physical form and have a physical appearance that deem them different from just normal people. This then leads into Ranger Luke singing about Little Red Riding Hood to basically deem how to see what a stranger is. Now, it then plays this really long song, basically emphasizing of what these strangers are. However, this is when it kind of gets creepy, or the so-called analog horror kicks in. Because when it says Little Red Riding Hood goes through the woods, she hears the whistling and goes on a false trail. which obviously, you know, a false trail, if you don't know what it is basically just if you're in a woods or you need to go on a hike, there's normal trails that have kind of been laid out by park rangers or something like that. So let's say you're going on a hike in a park or whatever it might be, and the rangers have set out like little arrows like, oh, go this way instead of the other path. If you follow the other path, that is kind of deemed a false trail. Now it then explains how Little Red Riding Hood goes to her grandma's house, but she's not there, and then this comes on screen. Now, obviously, as you can see, this is obviously a form of wolf, but it kind of looks like humanoid, if that makes any sense as well. Keep that in mind for later. Once the song is done, we get a little emphasis of the surroundings, as another title card shows, to kind of deem either an ad break or a completely different episode in the series, to where we are introduced to Oswald and Gleason, who are going on a hike. Now this is where the story gets very, very interesting, as they start to hear whistling.
It's okay. Do you hear the melody? That means the strangers aren't hunting.
As Gleason and Oswald both say, listen to the tone of the whistle, they aren't hunting. So this obviously emphasizes that the strangers aren't just like specific looking human beings or even beings in general, they also hunt in packs, because you can hear multiple people whistling. So this kind of implies it's sort of like a cult or some group of people that live in the woods, and I don't even know what they can do. But if you didn't know, there's multiple videos on this channel to where it actually emphasizes what these strangers are, and we'll get into that later. Now basically, before anything happens then, while the whistling happens, Gleason and Oswald stay still. Normally in a normal situation you would think, oh, maybe they run away. No, they've been taught how to, you know, get away from these people by Ranger Luke, which is also kind of suspicious to me, but we'll get into that later. They then hear a massive growling sound as the camera begins to shake absolutely immensely, which is really weird because you're like, oh, it's just a stranger. Now you hear this being or monster, so it's very, very strange. Then it completely cuts to this new character of a pig, and it's basically spotting the stranger. Now, if you remember in the jump scare that we saw during the Little Red Riding Hood section, we saw a wolf. The wolf was kind of wearing a mask. Now these so-called strangers are obviously shown on hand puppets. You can see a fox mask and a bear mask, which is very, very strange. So what if that so-called wolf we saw was a stranger who was just imitating, you know, the wolf mask? Because as you can see, they're obviously using animal masks. I don't really know, there's not really much explained about that, but this cult apparently go around in masks of animals. After you play your little mini game of spotting the stranger, it says spot the adversary, as obviously it's a sock, but it's meant to obviously mimic a creature, as a little sock puppet rises above a little tree stump, and it says it rides beneath the forest. Now, this completely opens up the gate to this, because in a previous video that I said I would get into, it's of this pill that people take, and it basically, you know, gives them extra sense. It's very weird. It's very similar to that one analog horror video that, you know, was like the one that like has all the messed up faces and stuff, like Dorselessness, I think I remember was one of them. It's sort of similar to that sort of video with the pill. However, it then shows of people having dreams of different events. Now, this is where the story gets very, very interesting, because in this previous video, but basically this woman has drawn up a dream that she had after taking this pill, and none other than Rex pops up on screen. Now, it then explains how this woman has dreamt of a kids' TV show program. That is this video. We are seeing the dream in her perspective, so she is the person behind the camera, in my theory anyway. Another dream also explains how someone dreamt of a meteor that hit the earth and obviously resulted in this adversary that's come into the world, which then authorities have discovered as since then. This was an undiscovered meteor until this person dreamt of it. And then the third person then dreams of a cult in the woods who worship a hole in the ground. In this drawing, you can see the people in the photo are all wearing animal masks. So not only has this person dreamt up of this hole in the ground, my theory is that meteor that hit the earth resulted in the hole in the ground, resulting in the adversary, which then resulted in the strangers. Now, as we get a little bit sidetracked into the main, that's kind of my theory throughout this entire channel, is that adversary came from a meteor, and that's what this stranger thing is all about. It's about a cult that worship this hole in the ground that have this adversary. Now, this is when we continue into the video. After the adversary pops up, we then get a scene of all the characters sitting around a fire with Ranger Luke, Oswald and Gleason, and Rex and Anna. As they explain what they'd done in the day, Anna and Rex say they went fishing and they didn't have enough worms, so they had to stop. And then Gleason and Oswald then explain to them how they had an encounter with the strangers. But then Ranger Luke asks what they'd done. They explain that they would have ran away and closed their eyes if they were hunting them, which is another interesting fact of why they would need to close their eyes. That's something I really haven't figured out yet. However, Ranger Luke then says, "Well done," and then turns to the camera and explains strangers are not there for your well-being. Now, my question is, what has Ranger Luke experienced? Because he seems to know a lot about strangers. He seems to know a lot about these people. So my theory is, there's a scene in a previous video of a person that gets chased by these so-called strangers. My theory is that person that's getting chased is Ranger Luke and then gets killed by them and then is shown up in this dream. You're probably wondering, like, oh, but he's dead. How could he pop up? At the end of this video, while they sign off on the show, a photo of 4 kids pop up saying, "In memory of the Grandwood 4, Ryan Rex Michaels, Samuel Gleason, Oswald Jones, and also Anna Carpenter." However, Anna Carpenter, that photo that is shown of her is also shown at the very beginning of the video on that table beside the angel statue. It was shown on screen before it even happened. So, my guess is these 4 kids were unfortunately killed in the woods, in my opinion, by the strangers. Either killed or taken away of some sort. That is my prediction with these 4 characters anyways. But that is just my opinion, honestly. I think there's so many theories you could bring up with this video and this channel in general. But like, the fact that you're probably wondering, oh, but how is Ranger Luke that person? How he would have died if he wasn't. This is a dream. This video right here that you're seeing is in White Stag Education. This Stranger Danger special is a dream in someone's head that is just emphasizing and enhancing the story. So in my opinion, to just basically cut this video short, in other words, a meteor hit the ground, left the hole in there, it resulted in the adversary. People around this area, whenever this meteor hit in the earth, obviously worshipped this. Obviously, as time went on, a forest must have grown there. If a forest wasn't already there, it must have grown around it, so these people already, lived in the woods. In my opinion, then, at some point throughout history, this person that has gone on a hike, Ranger Luke in this case, has been spotted by the strangers and ultimately killed. So that is Ranger Luke's character in real life's demise. Then we get on to the 4 kids. In my opinion, I'd say they went on a camping trip or something, either with school. They seem young enough to probably with family, maybe they were all friends, to when the strangers probably saw them, maybe had killed their entire family along with them. We just don't know. But I genuinely think if you looked deeply into this story, it could be extremely disturbing. And I personally think that my theory behind this story is really disturbing if it was to be true. So yeah, that is what I have with White Stag Education. Hopefully this theory wasn't too confusing. I'm trying to get a little bit better at theories and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think that these strangers are just a cult around this woods that, worship this adversary, who take people away to either sacrifice them to the adversary or feed them to the adversary. I'm not too sure, but ultimately that's what I think this is. That is just a theory. I hope you did enjoy this video. Honestly, go check out White Stag Education for yourself. It only has 100,000 views. That needs to change. Another thing that needs to change, they don't even have 12k subs. go and subscribe to White Stag Education, and hopefully they can release another episode, because I really want to see what the rest of this story holds. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. If you want me to cover another story of horror or analog horror that is out on the internet that I may have not seen yet, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all the support on my last videos. It's been absolutely insane. So thank you all so much. And as always, stay safe. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you like anything to do with horror. And peace. First shot of this episode. Tammy picks this house.
What about that one?
Now, if you ask me, that is the, worst house you can pick. It has wallpaper on the outside.